Chapter 375 of My Hero Academia is titled A Mess, and thanks to Rukasu MHA, Dabi's pole dance, and Justice for providing the leaks, and let's get to it. The chapter begins with a flashback of Uraraka, Tsuyu, and other heroes fighting Toga on Okuto Island. Deducing that Toga's hiding technique uses some kind of misdirection, they concluded that it would be difficult for her to use it against multiple people at once. And on the first page, we do again see that massive cloud that has formed over Japan as a result of all the heat going on in all these different battles, kind of making its way over towards Okuto Island, right? Showing that this cloud really is massive if it's spreading from different battlefields that are in different locations. And Ochako actually jumps in front of her and gets in her way and tries disarming Toga, and that's when it's revealed what the strategy for battling Toga is. To keep Toga from being able to use whatever misdirection that she does to be able to hide and get away, they're using groups of at least 4 heroes to pretty much attack her nearly constantly and switching in and out as their effective battle maneuver against Himiko. Meanwhile, Gang Orca realizes that the giant high-end that they're battling actually doesn't have a regenerative quirk installed into it, and he asks other heroes to all kind of focus and attack the monster now that they've defeated almost all the other villains that were on the island. So at least Toga and Ochako's area, it seems like the heroes are doing pretty good progress, compared to every other area where it seems like the heroes are just in ultimately dire straits. Toga realizes that her situation is bad and considers using Twice's blood, but she figures that with how little she has, she should only be able to make 30 to 40 clones at maximum. If she transforms now, the heroes will fight back and the Sad Man's Parade will die on this island. And that's ultimately kind of just going to be pointless, right? Like Toga's like, hey, I got this blood, I can use it to make Twice clones, but if the heroes just take them all out because he's too dangerous and it just ends here, there's not really a point in that, right? So what does Toga decide to do? Well, Toga starts thinking quite a bit and she wonders if Makia is going to wake up, right? Because that's definitely one option to help in the event of a rainy day. But even if Makia woke up, it would be difficult for him to get all the way to where she is on Okuto Island, especially quick enough for this battle to really make a difference. So then she wonders if the heroes knew about Jin's blood, and if that's why they sent her to an island specifically, considering it probably would be sort of difficult transporting a giant Twice army over to the mainland of Japan. Seeing that there are no other options, she decides to believe in Spinner. That's when she picks up the vial and looks like she's gonna drink it, flashing back to her angry "you heroes mess everything up" scene from the war arc that we saw at the beginning of the arc, and her sad face at the end of the Ochako versus Toga fight that she makes, or I guess it looks like a happy face, but we know that it was secretly a sad face. Both being core memories of things that led to this exact moment. And that's kind of something that is going to start building up in this chapter. A lot of specific things happening in the past that lead up to what ends up happening at the end of this chapter. So Toga goes for drinking Twice's blood, but Tsuyu comes in, and this is exactly the reason that she's here, right? She was waiting for this moment because she figures that this blood right here is like All For One or Shigaraki's blood, right? That the most dangerous blood possible has to be one of those two people. And actually, it is someone on that same level, because Twice, if you believe it or not, in the data books is on the same level as like All For One. But yeah, Froppy is able to break the vial with her tongue before Toga is able to drink it. But that's when we remember that All For One did say the villains were prepared this time, right? He did tell us, hey, you guys think you're surprising us? We did a lot of preparation. And we've seen that in numerous battlefields at this point, that some sort of plan that All For One did ends up helping the villains out, right? Like we most recently saw that where All For One's backup plan with the Shigaraki hand ended up being what allowed Kurogiri to end up appearing. And the issue for the heroes is that Toga is very cunning, so if All For One gives her a plan or gives her an option or a tool to use, she's gonna use it to the best effect. So here, what she actually had in that first vial was not Twice's blood. But because she knew that Sue was a calculating person and that she was gonna attack at that specific moment, she instead had the vial that contained a drug given to her by All For One that attracts the high-end Nomu. The Nomu then goes to attack Tsuyu, kind of just ignoring Gang Orca in the air and turning to Tsuyu, and it causes a big wave when it shoots its beams or throws its spikes at Tsuyu in the water, and she's kind of caught off guard. We see Ochako make it through the giant wave to try to get to Tsuyu, and that's when she actually sees 2 Frappies. Now, one of them, obviously being the Toga one, takes the vial out of her mouth, and sadly for Ochako, it's already too late because we can see in one of the Froppy's mouths is a vial, and that means very bad things for the heroes. But there's something interesting that I do want to quickly note here, which is that the Froppy that is drinking the vial, right, that is obviously the Toga, is holding one of the real Froppy's kind of goggles that she has on her head. And we did see that there was a Twice clone in the All For One area holding that very same goggle. Now, this is when Toga turns into Twice and starts making clones on her own. That's when Kurogiri at the same time appears and says that he's been given a mission to save Shigaraki and the others. Really, really amazing timing here. We literally just see a wave crash, right? And then Toga jumping forward as Twice, waving her arms in the air, forming different clones of Twice, and then those clones of Twice making clones of Twice, right? Like a couple of them do actually get out into the battlefield here before the portal opens. Ochako looks really, really worried at the sight of Kurogiri, probably remembering him from the USJ incident. And this is when Kurogiri starts asking Toga what she wants to do, right? In this situation where he's pretty much been given orders like, hey, I have to save everyone here, but like, how do you want to go about doing that? So Toga says that she wants to eliminate all of the heroes, starting with Hawks. Ooh, Hawks. You made some bad decisions, buddy. That's probably not one of your top 10 decisions. Ochako tries to enter the portal, but then Twice clones rip her wire apart, and she then shouts to Toga about how they haven't been able to talk about love like Toga wanted, as Toga, looking like Twice, is kind of phasing through the portal and saying goodbye. And Toga hesitates for a second, but she responds with how great it would be if we could. You know what I mean? Like kind of trying to leave that conversation on a ... note. But then we cut away to Gunga, and Hawks immediately understands that this is Toga's doing. Dabi burns the forest down, and Toga starts the Sad Man's parade, making hundreds and hundreds of clones. So it seems like Ochako and Froppy have been left behind, as Twice and the others have made it to this new area. And we do see fire starting in parts of the forest as it does burn down, but also massive waves of Twice, right? Having Dabi and Twice here against all these heroes, that's really not a good look, but also considering the fact that All For One is there too, I mean, it's just nuts. We even, I think, have like a giant wave of burning Twices, right? Like, it's just kind of madness. It's kind of crazy. Like, Dabi decided, I could use some of you guys as weapons. If I light you on fire, you could take it to my enemies. But then we see that Tsuyu and Ochako kind of work together to actually manage to get through the portal that was still open and make it to the Gunga area as well. So now we're in a really, really weird situation where you have All For One, Hawks, Endeavor, right? They're all in the same area as Twice now, right? Twice who's returned, Toga, Ochako, and Froppy, right? That's a weird mix of characters to be in the same area. I don't think some of these characters haven't ever really interacted before, but now we're mixing the streams because so many things have happened in the series by this point that now is a time for different plot lines to start really converging in on each other, and this is a big example of that. And the last note from Rukusu is that the final panel on the second to last page is with the weather girl from the last chapter talking about the butterfly effect, right? That happened from the birth of the glowing baby. Meaning to imply that this exact scenario where Ochako has made it to the All For One area along with the Twice clones, along with Froppy, was not a likely situation, right? But a lot of things kind of had to happen, a lot of conversations, and a lot of situations between different people had to happen for this exact weird, odd, messy scenario to be here, and now we're going to try to have to figure out what's going to happen next. I do think Ochako probably is going to be very useful against the Twice clones here. I think my next video that I'm still editing is going to be about the Dark Deku arc that we're doing in the anime, but I do think I'm going to work some time in tomorrow to also work on an Ochako theory, talking about how I think she's going to manage to deal with a lot of these Twice clones and get through to Toga at the end of the day. But it's just really, really nerve-wracking because All For One is there and he can really shut all that down, right? Like, he could just shut Ochako completely down. So that is a worry. We're going to talk about that though in a bit. I'm going to get some rest. I am very tired. Got to get this video edited, but I love you guys. Those were the spoilers from My Hero Academia chapter 375, and I'll see you guys again next week. Peace.